Before we move to Andy Bertram, I was going back and looking at some of these Ole Miss teams and wanted to kind of see what was around Deuce McAllister when he was at Ole Miss.
Yeah.
What do you think his highest rushing total was at Ole Miss?
In a game?
No, in a season.
Oh, in a season? 1,400.
Not quite.
Lower?
How many 1,000-yard rushing seasons do you think he had?
2?
1.
Really?
1,082 yards.
Huh. Would not have guessed that. Now,
he also had 18, 20, and 18 receptions, 2 receiving touchdowns his last year in 2000. Also, 99, 25 kick returns for 652 yards. In 2000, he had 20 kick returns and 17 punt returns, on top of rushing for 767 yards and catching 18 balls for 190 yards. 16 total touchdowns in 2000 would be the most that he had in a season. So just listen, times have changed. The numbers are very different from this.
I'd say so.
It's not quite the same.
I'd say that's fair.
But if you wanted to go around him, Stuart Patridge throwing him the football, Romero Miller throwing him the football, Tony Cannon, Andre Roan running the football, your receivers around him, Rufus French at tight end, who was like a legit 5-star, all everything.
Gosh, all these names, I don't remember.
Grant Hurd, Corey Peterson, John Avery, Robert Reed. So, yeah, Deuce not a ton of heavy lifting being done around him. A couple good players, though. John Avery was a good player. Rufus French, good player. But not just necessarily loaded like a couple other teams.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of folks that are still chiming in with some of theirs. We'll get to a few more of those after we visit with Andy Bertram. The voice of the Auburn Tigers joins us at this time every week thanks to our friends at Craneworks. Andy, we really appreciate you being with us. I know it is early where you are, and it was a very impressive win for the Auburn basketball team over Oregon last night, specifically Todd Pettiford, who felt like for one of the first times in an Auburn uniform, we've seen him kind of completely in control, not only from handling the basketball, but also scoring 24 points last night for Pettiford. What did you make of it with the courtside seat?
Well, we were up. We're not really at courtside here in Las Vegas, but it was still Todd's best performance of this season. That 24 points last night against Oregon ties a career high. He's done it both times now away from Neville Arena. He did it last year at Georgia, and then last night against Oregon, against a big Oregon ball club, and he was terrific from the get-go last night. Probably the only thing that kept him from establishing a new career high is that he fouled out in last night's ball game. And Auburn had foul trouble in the first half with especially with Filip Jovic, and then came back, and then Pettiford picked up those fouls in the second half. But it was his best game of the season as Auburn's starting point guard with 24 points. Another strong game from Keyshawn Hall last night, who returned to the lineup, did not play last week against Jackson State, injured an ankle against Houston in Birmingham a couple of weeks ago. That's a good win last night against Oregon. And now tonight at 7:30, right here on Jocks with our pregame coverage starting at 7, Auburn gets a very, very big test with a Michigan team that had no trouble last night with San Diego State here in Las Vegas.
Where do you think Auburn has improved the most from game one of Steve Pearl's tenure, which wasn't ideal, to where now things are trending? Because it's looking like even in the loss to Houston, things are really trending in the right direction.
Here's the one thing about this ball club that we've seen thus far. Granted, we're still early in this season. Is this the situation doesn't seem to be too big for this Auburn team. And the one game against a ranked team that Auburn has played was the game against Houston at Legacy Arena, and in a game where Houston tried to run away with it a couple of times, and Auburn just wouldn't let it do it. You listen to Stephen Pearl talk with us in his postgame, and there's always areas to work on. And last night, it was offense in the first half, and it was defense in the first 10 minutes of the second half last night. So I'm not sure there's a specific area that Auburn has improved upon the most. I think just as a team, and remember, this is an Auburn team that, other than Todd Pettiford and for a little bit for Blake Michalek, they're the only two returners from last year. And Pettiford was the only player that started a game for Auburn last year, and he only started one game, and that was at Texas A&M late. So this is a team, I think, that is still learning to play together. But I've been impressed with the way this ball club has played so far, but it's really going to have to step it up. Michigan is very big. It's a top 10 team. It is deep. And again, it had no trouble last night with San Diego State.
Andy Burcham joining us on the Higginbotham Hotline. I do want to spend some time with you on the Iron Bowl and your thoughts on this game going in with DJ Durkham, the interim head coach. We didn't see Ashton Daniels. We did see Deuce Knight, who was very impressive, and we understand the level of opponent, but as a freshman to come in, do the things that he did, look great. What do you expect from just the quarterback position in this game against Alabama?
Well, I think it will be Ashton Daniels, the Auburn at quarterback on Saturday night against Alabama. He was held out of the game last week against Mercer just simply to retain a redshirt year so he can come back and play for Auburn last year. And Deuce Knight in his first college start was really impressive. The SEC Freshman of the Week with 4 touchdown runs and 2 more touchdown passes. And I thought he played very well regardless of the opponent last week against Mercer. But moving forward, at least for this season, it's Ashton Daniels that will get the start for Auburn. He was really impressive, both through the air and on the ground, and running the Auburn offense against Vanderbilt 2.5 weeks ago. And he will get the start for the Tigers when Auburn faces Alabama at 6:45-ish on Saturday night.
It's weird that Auburn, I feel like we haven't seen him in a meaningful game in so long. Feels like forever. I'm not sure why it feels that way, because I know it's only been a couple weeks, but I feel like so much has happened in the college football world since. Looking at that game against Vanderbilt, Vanderbilt's the 111th ranked pass defense in the country, actually 113th ranked pass defense in the country. Are we maybe putting too much on that performance, knowing that they had a little bit of the element of surprise, knowing that they altered their offensive identity a little bit? Or is this team really broken through and now they're coming out the other side having played much better offensively the last few weeks? Or is it more about Auburn, or is it more about the defenses that they played against? Because I really don't know. I honestly don't know.
Yeah. Mac, I think it's more about Auburn, because regardless of the opponent going into that Vanderbilt ball game, Auburn's offense, other than perhaps week 1 at Baylor, where Auburn just ran the football very, very well, and then the 2 wins against Ball State and South Alabama, Auburn had really struggled offensively against really good defenses in the Southeastern Conference. And Auburn, it did look different for Auburn offensively. It looked different in pace of play. It looked different in tempo against Vanderbilt. And it was very good against Mercer last week. And we all know that was an FCS ball club that Auburn faced. We also know that Auburn gets ready to face one of the best defenses in the country this Saturday night in Alabama. Very good against the run, very, very good against the pass. And Auburn will have to step up its game regardless of the quarterback and regardless of how Auburn calls the game. But I think you have to consider what Auburn has done in the 2 games since the coaching change, in the 2 games that Derek Nix has called as offensive coordinator, where he's had unlimited power or unlimited selection as Auburn's play caller offensively. So all of that to say, it gets much tougher against Alabama, but Auburn's offense has been much, much better in its last 2 ball games.
I don't think there's any doubt, Andy. What has to happen, do you feel like, for Auburn to get a win against Alabama in this year's Iron Bowl?
Well, I think it has to continue what it has done offensively. Will Auburn be able to do it to the extent that it's been able to do the last 2 ball games? I'm not sure that occurs against Alabama, but I'm not sure it has to occur as it has in the last 2 weeks. And here's the thing, defensively, Auburn's got to continue to do very well against the run this Saturday night and put some pressure on Ty Simpson, because if Auburn doesn't do that, as we have seen, he can pick a team apart at quarterback. Auburn, a year ago, guys, Auburn was the last place team in the Southeastern Conference in turnover margin, and it wasn't even close. And going into this game against Alabama, the Iron Bowl on Saturday night, Auburn is number one in turnover margin. Auburn had a couple more picks and a strip sack and a fumble recovery this past weekend against Mercer. And that has to continue. One, Auburn can't turn the ball over against Alabama. But Auburn also has to continue to find ways to get those turnovers. And, that it's one of those triumphs for this Auburn team this season, and primarily this Auburn defense, that it has been able to turn around that turnover margin from a year ago.
It's going to be a fun one, and we appreciate, again, you waking up early to join us, Andy, out there from the deserts. And what's up next for Stephen Pearl's Auburn basketball team?
Well, Auburn plays Michigan tonight at 7:30 Central Time. Our coverage right here on Jocks begins at 7. And then after the second game tonight, here Auburn plays at Michelob Ultra Arena. After the final game tonight, and this tournament is taking place in two different sites, then they will determine Auburn's opponent and the time that Auburn plays, we believe, tomorrow. So Auburn gets Michigan tonight, which is an incredibly tough game, as tough as any game that Auburn has faced this season. And I say that knowing that Auburn already faced the number one Houston team. When Auburn plays tomorrow, who Auburn plays tomorrow is to be determined. So we'll all be pivoting after tonight and gearing up for a third game for Auburn. Fly back to the Plains, or fly back to the Southeast.
Okay.
He had no time for us.
Over. I was kind of interested how the rest of that tournament might look, but it's okay. Andy Burcham joins us each and every week thanks to our friends at Craneworks. You can go to craneworks.com. Find more information there. I believe that's him trying to get back in, so we'll get to him in just a moment. I didn't get to watch a lot of the basketball game live last night. I was interested to ask Andy if the way Tahad Pettiford kind of ran the show last night, and from a scoring perspective, Andy, with what Tahad Pettiford did last night, is that what Stephen Pearl wants moving forward? Is that the role he wants him to play for his basketball team moving ahead?
Yeah, I think he's got to continue to be a leader on this ball club as a sophomore. And here's the one thing that Tahad, and he knows this, has to be better at, and that's his three-point shooting. And he is a better three-point shooter than what he has been this season. But last night it was his all-around game. It was, he hit a big three in the second half, but it was his ability to get to the rim against a much bigger opponent and run Auburn's offense last night. Yeah, that needs to continue for Tahad Pettiford in moving forward, and it starts tonight with the Michigan Ball Club.
All right, Andy. We know each and every week you join us thanks to our friends at Craneworks.
And Wasteworks is a Craneworks company. It provides roll-off dumpster rentals in the Birmingham area. With a range of sizes and fast service, they're your source for local dumpster rentals. Visit wasteworksusa.com for a quote. All right. You know where I'll be, Jordan-Hare Stadium on Saturday night. Can't wait for the Iron Bowl. Our coverage starts at 3:30 right here on Jocks on Saturday. Gentlemen, where will you be for the Thanksgiving weekend?
I will be in Austin, Texas on Friday and home on the couch or potentially in Jordan-Hare Stadium on Saturday. So TBD.
You ain't welcome there.
Good.
I can find a way on the field. I'm wearing my
I will
crimson
be
and
in
white.
Knoxville, Tennessee, Saturday afternoon. Vandy at Tennessee on ESPN.
Two big ball games for you guys. I hope you have a great call. Have a happy Thanksgiving, gentlemen.
You too, buddy.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Enjoy
War Eagle.
it.
Thank you very much. All right, Andy Burcham on the Higginbotham Hotline. Thanks to Craneworks every single week. Follow up on a little bit of what he said back into our discussion of players more important than anyone else for their programs in the history of college football next on Jocks. All right, welcome back in. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. It is Tuesday, November 25th, right here on Jocks. Glad you guys are with us. The conversation that we have been having the majority of the day has been one that Connor O'Gara brought up. College football players more important to their programs than Diego Pavia. And I don't think any of us would deny that Diego Pavia means a lot to his program. Pretty crazy to think about kind of what they've been able to accomplish with him and what this team may still have in front of them. You and I were actually talking about the game coming up this weekend, Greg. And when you look at Vandy, Tennessee, how do you sort of weigh this matchup coming up this weekend?
I lean Vandy. I just think they're the more complete football team. There's a certain aspect now on the ceiling, on the athleticism, on the overarching talent profile. I think Tennessee has an advantage, but I also think Tennessee at times is kind of their own worst enemy. I think they give up freebies. I think their quarterback sometimes plays into the opponent's strength. I think he'll throw it to you. I think you can get him a little bit flustered from time to time. I think he's actually a very good player. I've enjoyed watching Joey Aguilar, but there are a couple of moments in which in the bigger games, he'll make a throw and it's like, you can't do that. You know what I mean? You can't do that. And we saw that show up against Bama. We saw that show up against Oklahoma. We've seen it show up at other times this year as well. He's had a really good year under the circumstances, but he's not a guy that I trust with 100% of my heart and soul. You know what I mean? Like there's something, if the game's on the line, can I put it in his hands and know for sure that we're going to be in a really good spot? No, I can't do that. But when I look at Tennessee's wide receivers and weapons and where Vanderbilt has struggled, I do think there will be opportunities for them to manufacture plays on the outside. I think Vanderbilt has struggled at times tackling on the perimeter. Vanderbilt has at times struggled tackling in the back end. If Deshaun Bishop can get to the safeties, I think he can make a miss. If the receivers catch a hitch, they could tight turn, make a guy miss, and they're out the gate. So I do think what Vandy will have to do is shrink the game, play their brand of football. They're going to have to try very hard to stop the run. They're going to have to try very hard to get some 3 and outs. And I think they have to apply some pressure up the middle on Aguilar to get him to throw it into some traffic. If they can do that, I like their chances a lot.
Here's the thing. I agree with that. And we've said all year, styles make fights, specifically in reference to this Vanderbilt football team. And I feel the same way. If Tennessee grabs a couple explosives early, it could be dangerous for Vanderbilt. But then, Greg, you look at 365 through the air against Texas, 377 through the air against Auburn, 484 through the air against Kentucky. Diego Pavia has 11 touchdowns and 1 interception the last 3 games.
Yes.
Maybe they can play that style game. I mean, and the only one that they really had to do in sort of Auburn was more the back and forth. Texas was more the come from behind. So they've been really 3 different style games, but maybe it's not just over if Tennessee jumps up 14-0.
Yeah.
And gets 2 big pass plays. A DB falls down or they bust a coverage, and all of a sudden you look up and Nealon's rocking and it's 14-0 and you've had an 80 and 62-yard touchdown pass. I don't know if we can just count Vanderbilt out like we maybe thought we would be able to at the beginning of the season.
Yeah. Well, I think when you look at Vanderbilt and how you beat them, Tennessee can do all those things. Like if you look at Vanderbilt's 2 losses this year, it was the result of efficient play at quarterback, catch and runs by wide receivers, lapses in the back end, seeing pressure, taking advantage of pressure. Like that's where Vanderbilt has got this year on defense. When Vanderbilt has lost games this year, it's because they've been a little sloppy offensively. They've turned it over a couple times. They have not played real smart and efficient football. I think Tennessee can force some of that with their pass rush. The problem is I don't feel like Tennessee is a very sound group defensively. And Vanderbilt is built to exploit a team that is unsound. They have game wreckers, but they get themselves out of position far too often for me to feel super confident about them totally containing Diego Pavia in this offensive attack.
It's one of the main reasons I felt like Florida had some stuff going on the ground against them. As you watch that front 7, you don't often reference a front seven like this. Usually this is kind of the offensive line. You talk about being on different levels. But when you watch the front seven of that Tennessee defense last week against Florida, very often on different levels. A defensive end way up the field. A linebacker run through way too early. A defensive lineman displaced from his gap with a down block. And one guy 2 yards deep, another guy 2 yards upfield. Those create seams. And as you just stated, if you're out of position against this offense, you're playing in to what they want. I mean, this offense needs defenders to do things as much as maybe the service academies, some other offenses like that. I mean, this is an offense that they need you to be out of place. That's what they thrive on.
Yes.
That's where you allow them to gain the majority of their yards, and they just happen to have a quarterback that excels at knowing when and how that's going to happen. I mean, there was the one play where Pavia kind of rolls to his right just a little bit and gives pump fake to the linebacker. I mean, he's watching the corner come up on one run on the short pass, and then he boom hits it to the tight end right away. Like he just has a great feel for where people are supposed to be, and then when they're not there or they're. I think the thing he does better than anybody else is he knows when they're preparing to leave a spot.
Right.
Like he can tell when somebody is about to depart where he needs them to be, and he'll throw right on top of that. So that's a big part of this one for me. And two, I thought you stated this earlier in the week. I don't know if you said this on the show yesterday or when you and I were talking, but I thought this was brilliantly said. And I have not heard it put this way, and I have not heard a lot of coordinators describe this way. But I do think it fits Tim Banks well, that he is an emotional play caller. And that's one thing that I imagine it's very difficult, first off, not to be when you're calling plays on either side of the ball. I mean, when you give up a sack, what do you probably want to do next as an offensive coordinator? You want to go get them back, right? You're like, all right, fine. We'll throw the deep post right here. We'll get it all back. Like that's, if you're a defense and you give up a 30-yard run, you're probably like, forget it, bring the house. We'll show them. That's how I would probably be. You have to force yourself not to be that. But
yeah.
Take us a little further into how and what you see with Tim Banks as it pertains to that description.
So when I look at Tim Banks, I think you're right. You hit the nail on the head with there is some emotion when it comes to his play calling. For example, team hits a 20-yard play. He wants to blitz you now because he's mad that you just gained 20 yards. You know what I mean? Like he's going to team stops the run on, let's just say they stop the run on 1st and 10. He automatically is thinking pass on 2nd down. He calls a pass play without acknowledging sometimes, the run game's now going. They're going to go back to the run on 2nd down, and they gash him for 8 yards. Like, I think that right now when I watch Tennessee's defense, there is not a clear defensive identity, which is not necessarily a bad thing. I think when you are an offense, it's easy to prepare. It's easier to prepare for a team that has a clear identity. Here's what they want to be. So when all things are going sideways, when all things are going haywire, here's what they want to be. So when we get a beat on them or whatever, and we're getting going a little bit, hey, they're going to revert back to what they do best, and that's quarters, or that's man, or they want to blitz you from the field, or they really want to roll coverage to your best receiver. Tennessee doesn't really have that when I watch them. It's what I call a grab bag defense, which is not a bad thing. Like, people will interpret that as negative. It's not negative. It's just, it's like he's calling plays as opposed to leaning into what their identity is defensively. It's plays over identity. And for example, one play you'll get man. 1st and 10, you get man. 2nd and 10, you get field fire zone. 3rd and 10, you get cover 2. They get 1st down. Okay, next is they got a 1st down. Now I'm at it. Now comes boundary fire zone. Then we're gonna go 2-man. It's like you'll get 10 plays and you'll have 10 different defenses, which can be hard as an opposing offense trying to figure it out. But it also means that I don't know if they're really great at any one thing. They're kind of solid at everything. And when you don't live in one specific look defensively, you're less comfortable executing a different scheme on every single play, which leads to mistakes, which leads to busted coverages, which leads to unaccounted for gaps. And that's where I think Tennessee's got this year, is that they are very much a defense that is kind of a jack of all trades. They can do everything, but they don't do any one thing really, really well. And I'm talking specifically as it relates to blitzes and scheme.
Yeah.
They have everything in their playbook. So on any one given snap, you could see 25 different defenses, which is hard, but it also means that they're probably not very good in any one specific defense.
It's going to be interesting to see because that Vanderbilt offense along the same lines, you look at what Diego Pavia was asked to do last week. I mean, straight drop back, under center, play action back to the defense, flat line option. You know, he welcomed a defender to him for contact, gave it a good pitch out to the side. Rollouts, sprint outs, direct quarterback runs, quarterback inside zone, quarterback counter. Like he's asked to do a lot last week. And so to counter what you're saying, Tennessee will offer up on defense. Vandy gives you a lot of different things, and now they have that legitimate deep threat down the field that they can take the top off to a certain extent, which changes all the intermediate stuff that they have. I mean, obviously a running back that I think deserves a ton more credit. A mismatched tight end that literally no one can handle. They can go 3 tight ends if they need to from a formation standpoint. I think it's going to be a good game, a fun game. But it's hard to argue with what you said, that it does feel like Vanderbilt is the more complete football team right now.
Yeah.
With how they're playing. However, Neyland Stadium is Neyland Stadium, and that is not an easy place to go play and get a win for the road team. So that's just one coming up this week that's going to be a lot of fun. I'm excited about it, and I think we just have a massive week of games that there's a lot of reason to be excited about a lot of these games that are coming up. Tell our listeners about Crocker Moving Services first.
They're a local company owned by an Iraq War veteran, Eric Crocker. Crocker believes in hiring movers you can trust to complete full background checks and run drug tests on every single employee. These are good guys, and you can trust them in your home when they need your whole home packed up and moved. Your company headquarters moved across country, or you just want them to come rearrange your living room. These guys got you covered. They also do deliveries for furniture that you've purchased and need to get to your home. So call or visit them online today for a free quote. The website is crockermovingservices.com. That's crockermovingservices.com. Support your veterans by choosing Crocker Moving Services for your next move.
When we come back, I want to talk coaching searches. Jake Thompson's coming up at 9. We'll talk with him about where things are with Ole Miss. But there was something that happened with a few players yesterday and some comments made after practice that I want to get to. We'll discuss that and some of the other coaching searches coming up as well next, right here on Jocks. All right, welcome back in. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. Yesterday, a couple of interesting things took place around the Ole Miss program. I'll start with after practice, Lane Kiffin asked about different players and went into a description on kind of how this era of players is a little bit different.
I've said it before. It's a different generation, guys. I know it's different than what we were in when players couldn't leave and players chose to go play for their home state a lot and all that. This is a different generation. They all can leave every year. A lot of that is financially based. And so they don't think the traditional way that years ago about their coach and what's going to go on with him next year. That's not how they think anymore. And that makes it a lot easier not to listen to noise, because as a fan, that noise is really loud because it's your team and it's your team for a long time. These kids don't think that way. Just it's a product of the system.
Also yesterday, Greg, because I want to get your thoughts on kids today and kind of where Lane was going there. Trinidad Chambliss tweets out, "To our fans, this team is completely locked in, living in the moment, and staying true to our 1-0 mindset for the Egg Bowl and future games. We are unbothered by anything about next year and fully trusting Coach Kiffin's leadership to keep us moving toward our goals."
I believe that. Like, I really do.
Okay.
Like, I think guys are, players are keenly aware of the news cycle. They're not immune to it. They have access to all the information that we all have access to. And here's the other thing, like, it directly affects them. So they are really interested, I would imagine, in what's going on elsewhere. But players are also wired to compartmentalize their life. That's what we do. Like, we are, I don't want to say it's militaristic in your training. Nothing like the military by any stretch. Of course, that's real world. Football, though, you are trained, and we go through several off-season programs, tons of psychology that's involved in this. Like, you are trained to ignore the external noise and to focus on the task at hand. And I think the modern player is very well equipped to handle that. Maybe I'm crazy. I mean, they've grown up in the social media era. They have grown up in a world in which there's a little more comfort for them because they have a bit of a parachute because of the money that they're making as players. So yeah, I actually believe that wholeheartedly. Do you agree?
For the most part, yeah. I think that kids are different. There are different goals. There are different mindsets. There are different things that are more important. Him talking about, guys growing up in a state, only wanting to play there, then going to play there. When you see guys transfer multiple times and guys who were an absolute lock to be at one place for a long period of time for different reasons, when Bo Nix leaves Auburn, when Bear Bryant's grandson leaves Alabama, it brings you to the mindset that anything's probably on the table. As far as just guys that are destined to be at a certain program for their entire careers and would never leave and are overly loyal. And most people would say it doesn't mean they're not loyal anymore. It's just kind of what it is in today's college football. But Kewan Lacey was tweeting out things yesterday about how they're locked in. A couple of guys on that team tweeting that out, which is just kind of, see, I go a different direction than you do. You say you believe it, and that's fine. I think if you're tweeting about it and you're coming up with statements to share about it, then you are thinking about it.
It's on your mind.
It is a distraction. So if it's not a distraction, you don't feel the need to go put it on social media somewhere because you don't even know it's out there. And I know it is probably impossible to think about not being influenced or not seeing or not hearing about this kind of noise when you're a college football player right this second. I don't know how you wouldn't. You can turn your social media off. That doesn't mean you're not going to hear about it, see it other places.
And you're going to feel it. Like, you can tell by what people ask you. I mean, like, that's the other thing. Like, I never read press clippings, but I can just tell what people are saying based on the questions we got when we sat with the announcers on Friday. I can tell what people are saying based on the questions I get when I have to go do media on Monday, Tuesday. Like, you already know what the narrative is. I mean, no one's immune to the narrative, but I still think here's the thing. You can be disappointed, you can be frustrated, you can be unsure, you can have questions, you can have all these other things. But the reality is your timeline as a player is very, very short, and the opportunity to play for a championship is outrageously difficult. Like, you do not get that opportunity, and that is not one that you probably take for granted. Anyone on that roster knows how good they were last year, and they didn't make it. Now they're in a position to get one more, and then we got a shot. All you want is a shot. So are you really going to let the future impact the present? I wouldn't. I can't imagine they would either. When you take into account what's sitting right in front of you, dude, it's a championship. It's immortality. And that's all anybody wants as a player, is a chance to win a championship.
That's it.
I mean, maybe that's not everyone's number one goal, but the guys I want on my team, I want that to be their number one goal. So I just have a hard time thinking it's going to be too distracting. Maybe I'm naive, but I just can't. I would have a very difficult time anticipating this team not playing well in this game this weekend because of Lane Kiffin's possible exit.
Speaking of that exit, 3 questions asked to Lane Kiffin yesterday about his coaching future that brought obvious frustration to him. These are those from yesterday.
Lane, Keith released a statement on Friday saying that you, him, and Chancellor Boyce had a meeting about your future. Are you able to elaborate on the nature of that meeting at all?
Yeah, like I said at the beginning, very fair question, but we're not answering anything that doesn't have to do with the game and the team and the season. But fair question.
You mentioned on Pat McAfee how you don't make decisions based on money. When you do make your decisions, what are the considerations for you then, especially when it comes to football decisions, right? Like, what are you thinking about?
Yeah, very fair question, but I'm not going into it because, like I said at the beginning, I'm going to keep this to this team. And
He says expects a decision on Saturday. Is that a decision that's been made, or is that still in consideration? Like, people are just curious about that.
Yeah, so, I mean, you can just keep going. I'm not going to answer them, so that's 3 of them. You got another one?
So we had this conversation in studio yesterday before Read and React, and it was funny because Roman was saying, like, how do you want these guys to handle that to the folks that were bringing it up? And they just asked him, how would you handle it? And Roman's like, listen, this is the way I'll put it. Lie to me. Just lie to me. Don't dance around it. Don't be uncertain. Don't give me the him-ha. Don't give me the this. Just lie to me. Have one statement, and if it's a lie, that's fine. Just go. Just get it. Just say it. And it's almost like Lane had it there, but it felt like if he would have just gone with that right away, it's even less of a deal. If he just said, we're only talking about the game. That's it. Like, if you have the Marshawn Lynch ready to go, I'm only here so I don't get fined. Like, just have your answer, and then for every question even close to that comes up, just give that answer. I'd love to talk to you about the Egg Bowl if you have a question about that. Like, that's it. That's all, and just every single time. How would you want your coach to handle it? Or how would you handle it if you're in this situation and you're getting these questions?
I would probably handle it that way.
I guess part of it would depend on if you knew your answer.
I think he knows his answer. But it's a hard one. Because I do think there's a part, people just assume Lane is like just some robot that doesn't have emotions. Like, you think he wants to be in this situation where he's possibly being forced to leave a team that might have a chance to win a championship? Like, no.
Definitely not.
Absolutely not. Like, this crushes him. Like, to have a possible life-changing job presented to you, a legacy-changing job presented to you, like something that can elevate your family's life, your possibility of being remembered forever. I mean, all those things are sitting right in front of you. Like, he doesn't want to go through this. Like, this is just really unfortunate. It stinks is what it is. It really, really stinks. And I think he's struggling with that. Well, know why? Because he's a human being. Like, any one of us would struggle in the exact same situation. It's really, really hard. It is awful. But
there are a lot of people, Greg, when you say that would say, it might be awful, but he's brought a lot of this on himself.
How? What are you supposed to do? By being good? Like by being good at your job?
I would say either one, forcing those teams to wait, or two, just go ahead, commit, and get it over with.
But can you force those teams to wait?
If they want you bad enough, you can.
I don't know if you have that kind of leverage. That's the challenging part about it.
I agree with you from those other teams' perspectives, but you tell us 800-239-9569.
I think
how
teams,
should it be handled? If people are so mad about it right now, how should it then be handled?
I think those teams, by the way, I really believe those teams would allow Lane to go coach in the postseason and do double duty. We've seen people do it before. Granted, coordinator role, but we've seen him handle both sides. Like it's been done. Now, seldom is it done in conference. It happens. I mean, Kirby Smart was coaching on the sideline and yet recruiting against Alabama at the exact same time, and yet was still wearing crimson and white on the sideline as they chased a championship in 2015. Not like a reflection of poor character. It's just, hey, I got to fulfill my duties here. But at the same time, I have to prepare myself and prepare the program that I'm inheriting for success by making sure I'm doing both.
Yeah.
And I think there's a way that could be done. But it doesn't sound like Ole Miss is wanting that to go down. So that's really hard on Lane. But I think part of the reason why Ole Miss is applying that pressure is to get him to think twice about leaving. I think if Lane were going to Washington, do you think Ole Miss would have the exact same approach? The answer
absolutely not.
The answer is no. They would say, hey, man, like you can do double duty. Let's win this thing now.
Yeah, what do you need?
But the fact that he's going in conference to a rival, more than likely, and that makes it that much more challenging.
10 times more challenging. Because there becomes things that you have to protect. And I've heard some people saying, put something in writing that, this roster's off limits moving forward. Good luck getting past Thomas Mars with that one. That's just not real. Because you can't put that legislation on the player. Player can do whatever he wants. You can't go sign paperwork that says a player can't go somewhere else to play for that individual because you're going to get sued.
Yes.
Through the roof, by the way. Wouldn't even be debatable. So I understand the frustration from Ole Miss fans. I understand the frustration from a lot of fans. I'm not exactly sure how people want this to be handled, what he can do different. I think most people would agree that these are premier elite jobs that almost anybody would take a look at.
Correct.
And almost anybody would have to consider seriously. Now, there are other people that are going to look more into things that we don't necessarily know, comments, tweets, quotes, Bible verses, what numbers in the verse, whatever. Like the conspiracy theories. I'm not smart enough to go down those paths. I can't even read in between the lines.
What
of
are the
some
conspiracy
people
theories?
There's
I
a
haven't
whole
even
lot
heard
of things
this.
that people are out there. He's playing games with people with what he's sending out and this whole thing. I don't know. If he is, okay, shame on him. I personally, I don't care because I don't know what he's doing. But I don't know what the way to do this is.
There is no way to do it. There is no blueprint. There is no way of handling it. Here's the reality. All that Ole Miss has done to allow Lane this opportunity, I think they're remarkably frustrated because they view themselves as a super premier destination, which they are, especially with the resources they've attributed to the program, the investment they've made in college football, offering him the opportunity to be the highest paid coach in college football. Like Ole Miss has stepped up, man, to the plate. Like
and not just now, by the way, but for the last few years.
Last 5 years, they've been doing. It's been increasing in this. It's been growing in this direction for a while. Like they've done an amazing job, and frankly, they had the best roster in college football last year. And some would say, well, the reason why they didn't win last year is because there were mistakes made from a coaching standpoint. I don't know if that's true or not. So there's people within the administration that are mad at Lane because they feel like he let them down last year when they all stepped up to give him a highly coveted roster for just about anybody in the sport. So, like, that's another layer to this that's, like, very strange. It's like, well, Lane screwed up last year, and why is he getting all the credit now? Now he's leaving. Like, it's like there's people that are mad about that. But the optics of him leaving for a job and a, quote, lateral move is very, very frustrating for them. And I get that. And that's why I think they're trying to basically say, no, hey, if you leave, you can't coach. And that, I think, is mostly to get him to consider staying and to put more pressure on him to stay. But if he's already made up his mind and he's decided to leave, are you doing what's best for your program by telling me he can't be out there?
Yeah. Do you want someone staying with your program because you forced them to? I don't think that's healthy for anybody down the road. So how do you manage that part of it, which it even becomes more difficult? So there are a lot of layers to it, a lot of difficulties with it. We'll take that and go back to maybe that game on the field, some of what we're expecting to see next right here on Jocks. All right, welcome back in. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. What do we expect from the Egg Bowl on the field? We'll get into a little bit of that. You got college football coming up today, not even tonight. How great is this? 4:30 Maction today.
Stop.
We're here.
Let's ride.
We are here.
God, we are back.
Excuse me. 3:30 Maction. Just as the kids would get out of school. By the way, I had this conversation with Roman yesterday.
Yes, I would play games all the time like this.
When did the kids start getting the entire week off for Thanksgiving?
When you got out of school, out of spite?
I'm almost positive we went through Wednesday. The whole week?
The whole week.
My wife told me this on Thursday or Friday last week. I was like, they're not out the whole week. She goes, the whole week.
Wait, they're out at school the whole week in the elementary school?
Yes.
Oh, no, ours get out today. They get out Wednesday.
We're off the whole week?
Yeah, well, that's Homewood.
Yeah, that's it.
Checks out. Not a premier emphasis on education. It's just all about youth baseball.
That's it. That's definitely it. 3:30 today, ESPNU, Bowling Green.
It's kind of
at
fun
UMass.
though that they're out the whole week. Have you
Not
enjoyed
for
it?
my wife. It's not.
I don't know. The littles for us have been out all week, and it's been kind of fun. They've been doing a lot of Christmas decorating. I could hear them downstairs that I was upstairs grinding on the tape yesterday, and it's kind of fun to have a little youthful energy around the house. I enjoyed it.
I got home late last night. Christmas tree already up. A lot of decorations up.
Let's go.
She put them to work over the weekend, which is great. But I think she's going to run out of things to do here soon, especially with rain looking like all day today.
Yeah.
3:30 today, ESPNU, Bowling Green and UMass, as UMass looks to get a win, a singular one win in the win column. And then 6:30 tonight, ESPN2, Western Michigan at Eastern Michigan. That's 7-4 versus 4-7. So Maction today and tonight. That's tough to beat. That is tough to beat. And then you get Thanksgiving college football, Navy, Memphis, which should be a pretty good game. Those two are pretty good football teams.
Should be.
49ers over the Panthers last night, 20-9. Auburn over Oregon in basketball last night out in Vegas, 84-73 to Todd Pettiford, 24 points. Auburn goes 5 of 23 from 3, out-rebounded by Oregon. Oregon just shot 38% from the floor, though. Auburn 5-1, Oregon 4-1. Alabama goes down to Gonzaga last night, 95-85. Gonzaga 6-0. Bama 9 of 29 for 3, shot 49% from there. Gonzaga 46%. They out-rebounded Alabama 46-38. Phylon goes for 29 points for Bama last night, but they can't find a way to get that win against a really good Gonzaga team. So a lot of college football talk coming up. Jake Thompson joins us on the other side. We'll ask him. Egg Bowl on the field, Friday morning, 11 a.m. on ABC. Where does Mississippi State potentially cause some problems? They're looking to get bowl eligible. They're 5-6 on the season, by the way. What is the quarterback situation going to look like for State? That could help determine some of this as well. We'll have that conversation, continue to go into rivalry week on the show. First, I'll tell you about your CBD store. If you are looking to lose some weight, the Trim by SunMed in stock now at your CBD store. Arthritis, anxiety, they have products to be able to help you with that and your pet as well. Skincare, gut health, and more, all at one of their 3 locations. Highway 280 by Bailey Brothers, 150 by the Cage in Cleaver, Trustful just off 459. Your CBD store where good health hits home. Back with more Mac and Cube and Jake Thompson talking Ole Miss next on Jocks.